Thank you for joining us today. Wasn't Jack's keynote amazing? Welcome to our workshop on optimizing firm workflows with Clio. My name is Joseph Given. I'm going to be your facilitator for today's session. I am a customer onboarding team lead, which means that I oversee the team who helps get our customers up and running with Clio through training and personalized implementation plans. Now, today's agenda, what we're going to be covering, I want to go through a quick run through here. So we're going to start off with intake, then we're going to talk about custom fields and tasks. We're going to go over document automation and deadline management. We're going to go over client communications, and lastly, we'll do billing and payments. Now, our goal today is to have you leave the workshop with some learnings around how to use Clio's advanced tools to streamline and automate your processes so that your firm can operate more smoothly and efficiently than you ever thought possible. Now, we have a lot of time booked for this session. We don't want to overwhelm you with content, though, so we're going to leave time at the end. If you want to join us afterwards, ask any questions, feel free to find us. We'll be hanging out after the session. And as a last housekeeping note, we won't have any formalized breaks, but if you need to take a break at any point, feel free to do so. Now, throughout the workshop, if you have any questions, feel free to write them down and then come to us afterwards. And to kick us off, I'm going to pass it off to Tom to speak about intake.
A quick round of applause for Joseph, everybody. He's going to be emceeing. I still think, Joseph, you can give the whole presentation. You know, he's really an expert here, so you've been helping us out a lot, so thank you.
Thank you.
But my name is Tom Zion. I'm one of the directors of product management here at Clio. I'm from Connecticut. I currently live in the great state of Rhode Island. So for my fellow New Englanders out there, a special shout out to you. Thank you for leaving your pumpkin spice lattes, our pumpkin patches, our leaves to come down here. So we're going to start this session where really the journey typically begins, the intake process. I'm going to be covering 4 areas. The first is the lead inbox, a place for you to review leads before you decide to work them or not. We're going to be reviewing Clio Scheduler, our online booking technology. We're going to be reviewing intake forms, really the heart of our Clio Grow product, where you can collect information before the consultation. And then we're going to talk about workflow templates, how you can bring it all together. And so first is the lead inbox. So within our Clio Grow product, we have an inbox that you can review any potential lead that comes in. This is a good place for you to see leads that either are already clients. If you have a repeat client who's coming in through your contact form, they'll show up here and you can link them in the system. If it's someone who might not work for your firm, this is a place that you can say no and you can kind of decline them out. Or if this is just spam, I mean, we try our best not to have spam come in, but sometimes it does come in. You can catch all of that within here. And the way that that looks is this screen here. You can pull up the name, anything that's been provided by the source that's come in through the lead inbox. We also have our duplication check logic. So for anybody in here who uses the product today or uses this today, you might see that we've been improving this and toying with our algorithm in here to check duplicates. So this is an active area that we're investing in, but a place that we're really trying to detect if this is a repeat client and that you can link it up and make sure all of the information is connected through the rest of the process. So typically, the place that this best shows up or things get created within the lead inbox is on the contact form. Those people who use the product today or to use our system today, they'll mostly host it on their website where someone can write in, enter in their first name, last name, any information about the case. And when it gets submitted, it can be added into the inbox and grow. Now, What you're seeing here on the screen is actually a snapshot of the new Clio Grow website, which we launched last week. Here, there's a native embedded widget that when someone comes in, enters in that information, it's automatically going to show up on the lead inbox. But that's not the only way that it can come in. So if you have a website already, we have a WordPress plugin that you can add things into there. We have a lead inbox API. So for those of you who are more technical, you can kind of key in a special hit to the API on a web form, and it can go in there as well. We have public scheduler appointments, which I'll cover in a minute. And we also have a bunch of integrations like Ruby Receptionist and back office buddies that automatically add things into the inbox. The second thing we want to cover is our Clio Grow scheduler, which is our online scheduling system. Now, I'm not sure if anyone has used these before, but this is a way that you can send out your calendar to the client and that they can see what availability is on your calendar right now and then book a slot with you instead of having to have the exchange back and forth over email. So the first way that you set that up is you come into the settings page. It's located within Clio Grow in the settings section. You can come in, specify the time slots that you typically use. Is this a 45-minute session or 30-minute session? We give you some advanced options in here too, like if you want to just do your consultations on Tuesdays or Thursdays, or if you only want to do them after 2 p.m. on Fridays, you can set up all of this information right in Scheduler. What you can also do is also set up some advanced information as well. Like, do you not want to get an email on the same day? Do you want a little bit of advance time? Or do you like to have a little bit of a buffer before and after these sessions? All of that can be set up within our advanced settings. And then once you do that, you get an URL that you can send out to the client. When they click on that URL, they'll see something like this that's up on the screen. It's a scheduler, it's your schedule. You'll notice that some dates are blacked out, it's because you can set it up that way. And then what we do is we let computers do just a lot of the work. They handle time zone differences. If a meeting's been booked since the link got sent out, this is automatically going to be reflected in there. So then that way it saves you some back and forth and no more email exchanges just to set up a meeting. And then one thing I wanted to selfishly plug, this is a feature that my team worked on, the ability to set up automatic email appointment reminders. So there's a global setting now in Grow, which we released about a month ago, that you can come in and set up to 5 different emails to go out before a meeting. This could be done 15 minutes before, 2 days before, 3 days before. You can set it up and it'll be scheduled and apply to all meetings moving forward with the option to override on a matter-by-matter basis if needed. The third thing are intake forms. This is really what's at the heart of our Clio Grow product. What you can do with an intake form is set up all of the information that you need in order to perform a consultation or really just to bring on your client. You can set up different form templates within the system. They'll look a little bit like this. And what you can do in there is specify what are the different questions based off of the certain case types that you practice. We have a lot of customers who'll do a generic intake form that they apply for all cases. And then for like specialty cases or specialty types, we'll have certain ones that they set up in there. Now, what we like to encourage within our intake forms is that you link them to any custom fields that you've set up in Manage or in Grow. By doing this, it's a little bit of extra work when you go through the process to set up the form, but once you do that, it's going to pay dividends down the road. It's going to make sure that the data that's been entered into the question flows through into Grow, and then when you decide to bring the matter and hire it over into Manage, it'll go with it into there too. So a little bit of a tweak. It's located in the settings of a question and an intake form, and I definitely encourage you to go check that out if you're a Clio Grow user. The last thing that I wanted to cover are workflow templates. This is a way that you can bring everything together into one really simple, consistent, but also scalable way in order to make sure that the same tasks are applied to each matter. And it looks a bit like this. Within a workflow template, what you can do is go in, set up the emails that you typically like to send out, the tasks that you typically like to apply, the appointment types and the forms that are typically used within each matter. And then that way, once you set that up in the system, you do it one time, and then it can be applied to cases moving forward. This is especially important for really all different sizes of law firms. If you're a sole practitioner, we've seen it helps eliminate forgotten tasks. So you always remember to do that task or automate that document for your intake needs. Or for a scaling firm, you can ensure that a consistent intake experience is applied for all of your leads that come in, regardless of who is working them on your firm or in your firm. And so just what we're really hoping here is there's a theme of just emails that are constantly going back and forth, whether you're qualifying a lead, whether you're setting up a meeting, whether you're gathering information. And there's just many tools within Clio Grow that'll help you just set up one lead inbox to triage clients, one form to send out to schedule information, and one link in there to capture everything that you need in order to make your consultation. So as a quick recap, we have the lead inbox, which is a way for you to triage clients before they come in. Clio Scheduler, which is a single URL you can send out to clients to schedule meetings on your calendar. Intake forms that are going to help you collect the information that you need in order to make that consultation, and then workflow templates, a way to bring it all together to make sure that you consistently apply that process, whether it's just yourself or other people in your firm. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sophie, who's going to walk you through the wonderful world of custom fields and tasks. Sophie.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie, and I'm a product manager at Clio. I'm based out of our Vancouver office. This is my 4th ClioCon, 2nd time in person, and 1st time to Nashville. And so far, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really happy to be back with you all today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about custom fields and tasks. These are 2 areas in Clio that you can pre-build what would otherwise be a lot of manual data entry, and make it possible for you to populate information and action items. So to start off, what are custom fields? Custom fields allow you to capture information like case details to personal information. And as it pertains to Clio, this might be a custom piece of information that you want to enter into a case or a person's contact information. Then that information can be used to automatically in your streamlined workflows. So for example, Tom touched on intake as a way you can leverage custom fields, and documents, which I'll touch on a little bit later. So for those that use Clio Complete or Clio Grow and Manage together, the first step that we recommend is connecting your custom fields between the 2. You can push your custom fields from Manage to Grow. And then when you eventually have that lead and you want to send it from Grow into Manage, the information will get sent to the right place. So the first step is to create those custom fields in Clio Manage. And then into Grow, which you can see on this screen here, you'll go into your settings page. That's the custom field section. And in the top right, you'll see that there's that sync the custom fields button. That's going to push the fields from Manage into Grow. And this is really important to make sure that your custom fields are streamlined across Grow and Manage. So moving back to Grow. So once you've finished your intake in Grow and you want to move the matter into Clio Manage, you're going to navigate to that matter in Grow. And then in the top right, you're going to click Convert to Clio Manage. You can adjust the fields that you'd like, and then the work is done for you. The matter gets created in Clio Manage, including any custom fields, matter description, location information, submitted documents, etc. Something to note here, when you push this matter over, the matter does not get removed from Clio Grow. So now looking at that matter in Clio Manage, the one we just pushed through, this is the matter dashboard. This gives you a high-level overview of financial information about the case, what's been done in the timeline, and there's additional details in the tiles as well. As you probably know, we could spend an entire session getting into matters, but for the sake of today, I'm going to touch specifically on custom fields and tasks. So maybe at this point in your firm's workflow, you want to add some additional information that you didn't capture in intake. So we're going to edit this matter here. And we're going to navigate to the section in this matter edit modal to add some custom fields. For this demo, we're going to add a custom field for campaign type. Now, another step that you could take here to further kind of automate your workflows is to create a custom field set. So a custom field set is a group of custom fields that you can create to streamline that extra step. Again, thinking back to that matter that we brought from grow into manage, if there's often information that you want to add post-intake, instead of adding multiple custom fields to a matter, you can create a custom field set and add that to the matter with one click. And the power of custom fields goes beyond listing them on a matter and the matter dashboard. You can also leverage them to populate onto a document. So as you can see in this video here, this document template is getting filled with custom fields. Leveraging document templates with custom field data is going to help you further streamline your firm's workflow. It'll save you a lot of time in your document creation and reduce that likelihood of human error when you're adding that information into documents. So moving on to speaking about tasks now. We all probably know what tasks look and feel like in Clio. A task is something that you can assign to yourself or to a colleague so that you can keep track of work across matters and stay on top of your deadlines. You may have a series of tasks that you like to assign out over and over. In the same way that you can assign action items with workflow templates in Clio Grow, like Tom touched on, you can do the same thing in Clio Manage, creating tasks that have dependencies. A task list is a templated list that you can assign out over and over again. There's a lot of value in leveraging this functionality to assign repetitive work to your team, and you can streamline your firm's processes. So if starting from scratch, you would create your task list and populate it with all of the tasks. This will take more time than we have today, so I'm going to show you some existing task lists and highlight useful features. So to show you in a demo here, first looking at the task lists. So in my tasks page, I'm going to navigate to task lists by clicking in the top right. You can see a list of task lists that I have here. I'm going to click into my document review task list. And you can see here there's 4 tasks that I've already created. A reminder, these are not assigned out yet, so this is a template. I'm going to edit one of those tasks to show you what it looks like, very similar to tasks in Clio. You can have a set assignee or choose when you assign the list and choose relative due dates. When I'm ready to assign the task list out, I can choose the assignee for any tasks that I haven't set a default assignee to. I can choose the matter that I want that task list to be assigned within. And lastly, picking that trigger date is going to calculate the relative due dates of any tasks that I've created. A few other ways you can assign a task list out is on the left-hand side of the task list in the drop-down. If you're working out of the Matters section, if you head into the Task sub-tab, you'll see in the top right the Assign Task List button here. This is a quick way to assign a task list when you're already within a matter. And finally, in the Edit Matters screen at the very bottom, in the task list section, this is another place, depending on how your firm operates, you can add task lists right to that matter. So lastly, another useful trick is duplicating a task list. This is really handy if you have a task list already, but you want to create another one that only differs a little bit. We know that processes might vary across practice areas. So as you can see in this recording here, on the left-hand side of the task, you can use the drop-down to duplicate a task list. You can change the name if you'd like, add a description, maybe you want to change the practice area. And then that task is duplicated, task list, is duplicated, and you can add new tasks, remove them, whatever you'd like to create that new list even faster. All right, we just covered quite a lot. So to summarize, first, convert your matters from grow to manage. This does the work for you. It creates the matter and copies over information like custom fields, matter description, location, attached files, etc. Secondly, create custom fields and custom field sets. Beyond capturing relevant information for your cases, this helps you organize your information and populate documents. Third, leverage task lists. This helps you automate processes across your firm, and you can set up task lists for regularly used workflows. It will save you a lot of time in the long run, so you can focus on doing your work versus planning your work. And finally, save time by duplicating task lists. This is really helpful when you have similar workflows, maybe across different practice areas, and you want to create task lists a little bit faster. I'm now going to pass it off to Tucker, who's going to speak to us about document automation and deadline management.
Thank you, Sophie. My name is Tucker Cottingham. I'm an attorney, and I'm also the founder and general manager of LawYacht Clio, which is Clio's new document automation solution. So we joined Clio last year, and I'm super excited to be here with you all today. And this is where we are in the agenda here. And so today we're going to talk about document automation and deadline management. And this session is really going to be all about not doing the same stuff over and over again when drafting routine documents, as well as our other favorite topic, deadline management. And so the main reason that people are adopting document automation is to regain control of their time. And so this is a theme that Jack mentioned in the keynote, and it's one of the really practical ways that you can just sort of get your time back in your life. And this paragraph here may resonate with some of you all, I'm sure. And so the way that document automation does that, the way that it helps you regain control of your time, is by streamlining predictable tasks. And so I'm sure that many of you draft different versions of the same documents over and over again for different clients. And so many of you can probably do this in your sleep. You are super familiar with the documents, with the workflows, with the things that you need to do. And if it's not already, over time, that will probably become increasingly frustrating and also increasingly prone to careless errors. So LawYacht is just a really practical way to take something that many of us have done over and over again and take that manual repetitive work and make it quick and easy and foolproof. And so specifically, LawYacht offers a PDF library of over 40,000 court forms across all 50 states now, which we just announced this morning. And you can turn those court forms essentially into fillable templates, and you can save them together. We also have functionality that allows you to take your DocX documents, your Microsoft Word documents, and turn those into powerful templates, which we'll go through in more detail here in a minute. But essentially, it allows you to not just auto-populate values, but to build rules into your documents. And so you can really kind of take it to the next level in terms of combining it with your PDF forms, but also creating sophisticated rules within your documents. And so I know as an attorney myself, looking at new software, it's always helpful to kind of have some specific examples of what people use this for. And so in practice, law firms use LawYacht for a really wide variety of things. It's a very flexible tool. And so sometimes we have very obscure applications like tax abatement in Pennsylvania, which I don't know that much about, but somebody does it a lot, and they've been able to save a lot of time. But the highest impact use cases for LawYacht all involve essentially creating pre-saved sets of documents, and then often having different sets of documents for different fact patterns within the same practice area. So an example could be if you're a family law attorney, you might make a packet of forms for a divorce, and you might have one packet for divorce with no kids, one packet for divorce with kids. Or you might have a will, and then you might have a different packet that has a will with a trust in it. So these kind of common scenarios that come up in your firm, you can create these packets of documents and customize them so that when something comes in, you're able to sort of work through it very quickly, and you can set up other people in your law firm for success as well. And then being able to leverage some of the logic, specifically the conditional logic in your Microsoft Word documents, really gives people a big lift, which again, I'll show you in just a second here. And so that's sort of at a high level, how people are using LawYacht and sort of the applications. But in terms of why customers tell us that they use LawYacht, it's really sort of around this idea of getting control of their time. Oh, I'm sorry. Getting control of your time, but also reducing the risk of errors, delegating work to other people. So a lot of times these projects sort of get siloed with maybe a more sophisticated attorney at the firm who's been doing this for a long time, but then they feel like I can't hand it off because it'll take me longer to explain it to somebody else. I may as well just sort of keep doing it myself. That was the situation that I was in at my firm when we started LawYacht, and it just felt like it was something I should be able to hand off, but just wasn't able to. So that's a really big driver for folks that have multiple attorneys or support staff. And then also increasing profitability. So if you can, do the same value project, but in less time, you can achieve higher profit margins. And so thinking about what you want to get out of a document automation solution when you're getting started is a really critical point, because you really want to plan the projects that you focus on streamlining around the things that you're trying to get out of it, which sounds obvious, but in practice, that's not always the case. So to be super specific, it's not the best thing to start a new practice area. Like if you've never practiced estate planning, getting a document automation solution to get into estate planning is probably going to be a harder thing to do than taking something that you do all the time and then streamlining that as a first project. And so digging into the details, this here is a screenshot of a court form. So this is one of the court forms that could be in the library. You can search it by state and county, and you can identify the forms that you need. And then you can autofill your information. But now you can also save edits. So you can pre-check boxes, you can customize headers. I know many law firms feel very strongly about how their headers should look, even though they're wildly different. And so you can save that with your name in all capital letters or your bar number a certain way. And then you can save those court forms essentially as templates as well. And the whole idea is that you get a web page or a journey, we call it, and you can enter in the information one time, and then that information is going to go into the right places across all of your documents. So you could combine 3 or 4 different judicial counsel forms or different court forms. You could also include a docx template in that form set. And then you enter the information one time, it's going to go into the right places, and then you can trigger rules based off of those inputs. That's really the force multiplying value of LawYaw, is being able to generate, form sets. And then a recent update is you can now generate these documents from inside of Clio Manage. So this is very exciting, something many of you have asked for. And so you can select your template, and it'll use that matter data to now populate, your document set. There's some limitations on custom fields in court forms, which we're working on. But you can use your custom fields in your docx templates, and then in some cases, custom fields can come over into your other documents, but the standard fields are all mapped. And now you can launch this from Clio Manage, generate the documents, and the documents will save back in your Clio Manage instance. And so taking a look at the docx functionality here, so this is a Microsoft Word document, and you can do some similar things to how Manage uses docx templates, so you can create fields and you can autofill those. But you can do a lot more sophisticated things as well. So here you can create conditional statements. If yes, then enter this phrase or this clause. If no, then remove that whole section. So if there's children, enter custody provision. If there's not, remove it. You can also do things like adjust pronouns or subject-verb agreement. So for those of you that might practice in Spanish, that can be something that's super handy. And really, as deep as you want to go, there's a lot of advanced functionality within the template builder, and you can come talk to us afterwards and see some of that if you're interested. And despite the inner geek in all of us that really loves to explore technology and want to learn how deep your template creation software can go, it's also just time intensive and cumbersome to make your own templates. So we have a template exchange program, which is sort of off the shelf. We've got templates from every state, captions in every state, and provinces in a few countries now. And that's a really great starting place. You can use them as they are. You can edit them further. And we also have a professional services group where you can actually just hire us to build your templates. And so that's really popular. We get a lot of requests before people go on vacation. I'd love to come back and have all these documents ready to go. So feel free to use us for that as well. And then once you string it all together, LawYaw plugs into the Clio ecosystem, so you can bring a client in through Clio Grow, you can have those fields in Manage, you can generate your documents in LawYaw, send them out for e-sign, and have them go back into Manage. So really exciting to see this all kind of get tied together here. And then in terms of managing your deadlines, we also have calendar rules. And so if you're a litigator, keeping track of your deadlines is critical. And this is a way to just sort of take some of that additional work off of your plate. And so inside of Manage, you can activate specific courts and jurisdictions. So you just go here, you can click, manage your court rule settings, and then you can simply activate all the different courts that you want to use. And so your current subscription tiers come with, most of them come with court rules. And so if this is something you're not actively using, it's probably included and it's definitely worth exploring. And then you can add your rules to your specific matters. So you can customize these, set them up, and attach them to your matters. And then that allows you to calculate and add important dates to your calendar, which has been extremely helpful for a lot of people. It's a very heavily used feature in Clio. And while you still need to be responsible and understand how you're calculating the rules and sort of what's going on, it's just a really valuable way to stay on top of your critical dates and sort of take some of that additional stress and time off your plate. And so wrapping up, there's a few summary points here. And really, one of the main points is really thinking about what you're trying to get out of your document automation solution and kind of working backwards. So if you're interested in delegating, then orient the workflows that you're streamlining around that ability to delegate. If you're looking at increasing profit margins, start there and kind of work backwards. And we're happy to work through this with you. We've got strategy consultants that work on our team full-time that are legal professionals that can help you. But I would say that that's really the key to success, is really focusing on what you want to get out of it and then working backwards. So with that, thank you very much. Jason?
All right, and now we're going to pass it off to Jason. Thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause for our first three speakers, Tom, Sophie, and Tucker. And now take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. So my name is Jason. I'm a product manager here at Clio. I'm responsible for the mobile and Clio for Clients teams. I've been with Clio for 4 years now, and I was with Lexicata for 2 years prior to that. So this is actually my 6th ClioCon, but it's my first time speaking up on stage, so new experience for me up here. So today we're going to be talking about client communications, and specifically where legal consumers' expectations are in today's industry, and how you can surpass those expectations. So, one of the most fundamental parts of any legal matter is communication. No matter the case, there's always going to be some form of messaging going back and forth or transference of information between yourselves and the client, and vice versa. But it's important to remember that communication isn't just a bunch of singular actions, it's actually an entire experience. It's a reflection of how the firm presents itself to the clients. So it's important to get right. So if we look at the range of mediums available to legal consumers today, we see that these consumers express a diverse set of expectations and preferences that vary across the different touch points throughout the life cycle of a case. So no longer are consumers expecting just to be reached out via email or phone. They actually want these communications to fit into their daily lives. Now, this may seem like a big challenge for firms to keep up with, but we want you to know that Clio is here to help you. So let's take a look at customer expectations across the client journey. And to help tell this story, I'm going to be using some data from last year's Legal Trends report. So Tom has already talked about how you can optimize your intake workflow, but we also want to talk about some customer preferences during the critical touch points during the intake process. So as you can see from this data, the preference is still for that first meeting to be in person. However, the emphasis here for the customer is to be heard and to be heard quickly, right? They want to feel like their case is going to be in good hands. So let's take a look at how you can achieve this during your intake process. So whether your first response to a potential new client is an intake form sent by email, or a link to schedule an appointment, or even just a regular email response, we highly recommend that you use email templates within Clio Grow. It's going to drastically cut down the amount of time that you're spending drafting up these highly repetitive and standardized emails. So with just a few clicks of the mouse, you can have a response ready in seconds, right? So there's no reason why a potential new client should be waiting more than a couple of minutes to receive that first response from your firm. And this is a huge leg up on your competition. We've seen that from the data that we've collected, that 79% of legal consumers say that one of the most important factors in determining which firm they work with is the response time they receive from that first initial reach out. So we also see the intake as a great opportunity to start collecting those client preferences. So even though we showed you accumulation of data, it's important to recognize that no two clients are the exact same, right? You want to cater that experience to the different clients. So when sending an intake form, it's important to ask a question around those client preferences around communication. So you can set up a question to ask, what is your preferred form of communication? And importantly, like Sophie had talked about, we can collect all this information in custom fields. That way, any other firm members who are working this case can easily see that information on the matter or the contact level, whether it's in Grow or in Manage, so that you're always communicating with them with their preferred method. So once you have the client onboarded, and you might start sharing more additional information, maybe you need to send documents to your client or you need to receive documents from your client, we see in this case that a more passive and technological approach is best. So oftentimes, if you're requesting documents from a client, they might not have access to the tools necessary to send that document over to you at that time. So you want to provide a means for them where they're able to get that document to you when they have the necessary time and devices. And since you're transferring sensitive information here, you want to make sure that this communication method is secure. So email has kind of been the standard practice for this in the past. However, we do recommend utilizing a client portal here, as there's a ton of benefits, not just for you, but also for your client. So let's dig into that a little bit. So the client portal doesn't just offer a place for you to access your client one location to access all of the information about their case, but it actually becomes that central hub for all items. So it's not just documents, it's messages, and even now bills. So Clio for Clients is our client portal tool, and it allows you to share documents with your clients easily. And once they're shared, that client can access that document from a mobile device or from a desktop device with a mobile app. So once you share that document, the client will be notified and they can log into their client portal and they can easily review that document. An additional benefit here is that by sharing via the client portal, you can actually see which actions the client is taking in the client portal. So you don't have to guess if they've reviewed that document, or you don't have to reach out to them and ask them, hey, have you actually seen this document that I've shared with you? You have all that information directly at your fingertips within Manage. But we know that you're not always sharing just one document at a time, so it's important to be able to share a ton of documents efficiently, right? So by collecting singular files into a folder, you can then share that folder with your client via the client portal, and that will provide that entire folder in an organized fashion to your client, and they're also only going to get notified one time as opposed to sending 10 documents and all of a sudden they're getting notified multiple times. Now, sharing a folder also means that the client is able to upload documents back to you directly into that folder, which means less work for you having to find those documents that they've shared with you or moving things around in Manage. Another tool I want to share with you via the client portal in Clio for Clients is the document scanner. This is going to make your lives a whole lot easier as well as your clients. So often, if you need to request a paper file from your clients, they won't have access to a scanner. So doing so is quite a hassle. With the Clio for Clients app, we actually have this document scanner built directly into the application. So all they have to do is open the app, point it at that paper file, and it will be processed into a high-quality PDF. And once they share it with you, that goes directly into Manage, into their Matter folder or any other folder that you've shared with them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's pretty cool. All right, so obviously a huge benefit here for you. Like, you're getting a high quality PDF off that paper file. I'm sure many of you might have been texted photos off paper files, and then you have to download them, get them into Manage. It's a whole hassle for both you and the client. So this is huge. Now, there's still going to be instances where you're using email, right? So in those cases, you want to make sure that those emails are being filed into Manage. Not just for visibility purposes, but also for being able to track time, add time entries, that kind of thing. So with the new Outlook add-in, it makes filing much easier than in the past. So you can file one email individually or an entire thread in one go. And you can actually add time entry templates within the Outlook add-in so that you're adding time before you get into Manage. With the new flagging feature, you can also see which emails or which threads have been filed already and which ones you still need to file at a later time. So once the legal work has actually begun, there might be less of a need to have intense communication back and forth, but customers are still expecting to receive updates on their case. They want to make sure that their case is being looked after. So these types of communications can be shorter, they can be less formal, but for the client, the emphasis is being able to access this information with minimal effort. So in these instances, we see a big benefit in using a tool like texting, right? This allows your clients to receive these updates, but it also provides you a way of providing an experience that is familiar to basically all clients in today's industry. We know that texting has the highest visibility and response rate, so it's really perfect for knowing that your clients are actually receiving these updates and that they're up to date on their case. Now, the last part of the client journey that we're going to explore here is sending bills and receiving payments. And this can often be the point in the client journey with most friction. So it's important to prioritize convenience here. And if you're doing so, that's going to help you get paid faster, but also more reliably. So the legal trends data that we see here shows that 2/3 of legal consumers expect to be able to pay their bills online. And this trend is only going to continue as we move into the future. So if you're optimizing for online payments, that's really going to help you remove any barriers to getting paid quickly. And once again, we see a huge benefit in using a tool like a client portal here. So with Clio for Clients, your firm can now share bills and trust requests directly to the client portal, which your client will be able to access that bill in the client portal, but they can also make payment directly from the email notification that they receive or in the client portal. So we see 3 big advantages to this workflow. The first is that the client can view their financial state or status off their case, including all outstanding bills and previously paid bills, and it's always up to date, right? So they won't need to go digging through any bank statements to see what they've paid or go digging through previously sent emails. Maybe they're seeing out-of-date invoices. Everything in this client portal is up to date. The second is that because the client portal is that central hub, they know they have that one place to go to find all this information. It's easy to find and it's accessible through desktop or the mobile app. And lastly, for those of you who have Clio payments enabled, that payment link is made available directly in the client portal. So the client will know exactly where to go if they need to make payment, and they can do so at whatever time is most convenient to them. Now, if you're working with a client on a matter where you haven't created a client portal, that doesn't mean you can't still share these bills. You can share them via email. And if you have Clio payments enabled, they'll still have that make payment link directly in the email as well. So in these instances, we really recommend that you utilize the bill email templates feature, which allows you to create or draft thought out emails well ahead of time in a templated fashion. And when you actually use the templates to send the bill and the message, it's going to pull all this data directly in from the contact level and matter level to populate all that information directly into the message that you're sending with the bill. So it helps you save time. And also because you can create as many templates as you want, we recommend that you have different templates for different bill types, for different practice areas. That way you're really cutting down on the amount of different edits that you have to do to each email that you're sending out, ultimately saving you time. So that was a lot of information, I know, so let's review some of the key takeaways here. First and foremost, not every client is the same. There's going to be a different set of preferences, expectations, and requirements that need to be met for each different client at each different touch point. So it's important that your firm is equipped with all the tools to meet these shifting needs. The second is that curating your communications really shapes the client's experience of your firm. So if you're looking for a referral or a positive online review, you really want to nail down this positive client experience. The last one is that Clio has a lot of tools to help you provide that stellar experience, right? And the most important, they fit into your workflows, they fit directly into Manage or Grow, so you don't have to purchase new software, they're already provided to you through your subscription. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Mike here, who's going to go more in depth with billing.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Mike Froome, and I'm an onboarding specialist with Clio, based out of Niagara Falls, Canada. This is my first in-person ClioCon, and I couldn't be happier to be here. I spend my days training folks just like you on the basics and advanced features in Clio, and spend my nights recapping the day with my beautiful girlfriend, who just so happens to be a business immigration attorney in Buffalo, New York. Okay, so our agenda. We've gone through intake with Tom, custom fields and tasks with Sophie, document automation and deadline management with Tucker, client communications with Jason, and now it's up to Sam and I to bring it home with billing and payments. More specifically today, we're going to look at bulk billing. We're going to look at the email templates and bulk invoice generation and sending, and even how to create automated bill reminders for those clients who may have forgotten that they have an invoice to pay. More specifically, we're going to leverage filters and automations in our billing workflows. So looking on screen at the bill message templates, we're going to discuss filtering invoice generation. Before discussing filtering invoice generation, let's first discuss email templates. Creating email templates will help you save time when sending invoices, allowing for autofill fields to pull in the relevant information from the matter. In the example on screen, we can see that the full name autofield has been selected. After making any formatting corrections, we can simply click Save Template. Our template will have successfully been updated and is now ready for use. Now that our template has been created, let's have a look at the filtering features in bulk billing. Within bulk billing, there are 6 different filtering options to choose from. These are contacts, matters, responsible attorney, originating attorney, activities date range, and custom fields. For today's example, we will look at using the activities date range filter. After clicking filter, navigate to the activities date range tabs and select the desired dates. In this example, we are filtering from August 1st to August 31st. Now, we can go on and use more than just one filter at a time. Let's say that Bob likes to bill on the 15th, but you bill on the 30th. We can filter the activities date range by activities date range and by responsible attorney to ensure we're getting and capturing the right time. Next, we'll look at generating bulk bills. So now that we have set up our date range, it's time to bulk generate our bills. After minimizing our filter options, we can select all of our bills or select only a few. Once selected, simply click Generate. We are then presented with a screen to select the relevant due date, activity details, and bill theme. After being generated, these bills will appear in the Draft tab. Now, be cautious to that. Folks think they go to the unpaid, but they will be in the Draft screen until they are approved. And speaking of approving bills, let's walk through that now. So to move our bills from draft to unpaid, we must first approve them. Select the draft bills you'd like to approve and then click Submit for approval if you aren't the person approving the bills, or click the drop-down menu and choose either Approve, Approve and Apply Trust, or Download for review. If pressing Download, it's going to give you all invoices downloaded separately. If we hit Print, it will put them all into one PDF document. Now we're going to look at sending bills. Earlier, Jason discussed sending bills via the client portal. For this example, we will look at sending bills via email. Select all the bills you wish to send, and then click Send. From there, we are brought to our Send Items page. We can view, add, or even change recipients at this stage, ensure our language is correct in that bill message template that we created earlier, and even click additional settings to adjust how the client will receive the bill, either as a PDF that can be downloaded or as a PDF attachment. After a preview of the email from the client will receive, we can simply hit Send. And finally, we come to automated bill reminders. Now, I know every client always pays on time, never needs to be reminded, so this might not be relevant, but for the few that may need that nudge, we can set up automated emails to send out to remind our clients to pay us in a cadence of our choosing. For example, in this, we have every 10 days. Cool. So we are at the recap phase where we discussed filtering, bill sharing, and automated bill reminders. By leveraging these features in Clio, we hope that this will help expedite your billing process. Please feel free to scan the room for any relevant Clions you may want to discuss with anything after, and hold your questions for all of us at the end. Now, I'd like to pass it over to Sam to discuss the other half of this section, getting paid. Sam?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm a group trading specialist at Clio in the customer education department. If you've joined Clio in the last 2.5 years, we may have encountered each other already as I run our Quick Start program. So if you have, come say hi. So I am going to round out today's session and talk about a couple Clio features that are really going to help you optimize your firm's processes when it comes to payments. So I'm going to show you how to best utilize these two features just to help make your payments process really seamless for both you and your firm and your clients, ensuring that you're paid in a timely manner. Here at Clio, we really want to work to ensure and improve when, how fast, and how much you're getting paid. So I'm going to touch on some data on our legal trends report. Through that research, we found that 66% of consumers prefer to pay through electronic payments versus traditional methods of payments. Soon enough, and the way that the world is going, clients are going to expect to be paying electronically. On the flip side as well, using electronic payments means that you get paid a lot faster, with 57% of firms receiving payments in the same day. So I'm going to talk about two key features that are really going to help you with that. These are small but mighty features, as I like to put it. Once you've implemented them into your workflow, you're going to see how something so small can be really impactful to your payments process. So the first feature are online payment methods, and there's 3 ways that you can use these. These are unique links that are curated for you to use, and you can find them on the online payments page once you've activated that. These unique links allow your clients to pay off an invoice, make a one-time payment, or make a deposit into trust from anywhere, anytime. The first is a secure payment link, which sends clients to a firm-branded payments page that Clio customers can opt to embed on your website or put it on or text it to a client. This allows your clients to make a secure credit card or debit card, or e-check payment from there. They'll also be able to access this on their phone or tablet or computer. They can also be sent via text message or email, allowing you to really diversify the communication path and giving your clients the ease to make payments the way that they want to. The second is a QR code, which you can also generate from that payments page. QR codes are rising in popularity. I'm sure many of you have run into them in restaurants or at stores now, so your clients are probably already pretty familiar with how to use them. You'll be able to generate a QR code for your payments page, and you can place it anywhere in person, on a form, or online, so that your clients can just scan it and make a payment from their phone. You may already be familiar with the third option as well, but you can send a link directly to your client on the invoice when you share your bills through Clio. This will then embed a link onto the invoice, which sends clients to a payment page, and then they'll be able to fill out their payment information. You can see in this slide here, this is an example of what a client will see from their perspective when they open that payment page. These options will really open up flexibility and accessibility to your clients, making it easier than ever for your clients to pay their bills. Now, in addition to payment links, you also have the option to save payment methods within Clio Manage. You can request your clients to save their payment methods by sending them a link via email or through a one-to-one intake document or secure message. Saving payment methods is possible even prior to sending a bill or processing a payment. So that means you can really hit the ground running when it comes to having your payments set up. So with this feature, you can easily collect trust deposits, be confident that you'll be paid by new clients, and you can also maintain a control of your billing by being able to view and manage your clients' preferred payment methods. You also have the added benefit of ensuring that you stay PCI compliant, knowing that your clients' payment details are stored to the highest standard. So as mentioned, when saving payment methods, you can either have a client fill out an online payment method request form, which you can access on the Contact or Matter dashboard, or you can have the option to just manually add their information and save it into Clio. You can also save payment details for just one credit or debit card for each client. So I'll show you an example of what this looks like here. So to manually store your client's credit or debit card information or to request a payment method, go to the Contact or Matter dashboard. On this screenshot here, I'm accessing it through the Matter dashboard. And then you're going to see a button that the arrow is pointing to there. And then you can either add payment method or request a payment method. In this video that you're seeing here, you can use the option to add a payment method. Once you've clicked on that, you're going to enter in the client's payment details to save to their profile, making it easier for you to charge for any future payments. On this screen here, you're going to see the other example of a payment method request form, which you can access from that same spot. This is a unique link that you can send to your clients via email, text, or even embed it onto your website so that clients can fill out the information on their own time. So you can see with these options available, you'll be able to save a lot of time. No more back and forth with your client and trying to chase down this information. You can simply request it or fill it out for them, making it easier for you to collect payment when needed. So to recap here, and like I mentioned at the beginning, these features can really make a difference in saving time when collecting payments. They'll really help in your day-to-day workflows and help automate tasks that can ensure that you're getting paid on time. You'll be able to implement these features right away in your Clio account to give your client that smooth experience when paying their legal fees. If you do want more information, you can find us after the session or head over to our help center or information in the conference app. You'll be able to find that all there. All right, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to pass it back over to Joseph to wrap up.
Thank you, and let's give it up again for the last few speakers, really everybody. Again, the last few speakers, we had Jason, Mike, and Sam. Amazing work. I've had the pleasure of working with all of them. They're absolute experts in the field. What we're going to do now is we are going to stick around a little bit after the session to answer any kind of questions. Come up to us, we're happy to help. The last three topics, just as a quick recap, were client communications, billing, and payments. And what I'd recommend doing after this session, think about how your firm implements these ideas, these topics, and maybe write it down. Write down if there's anything here that really resonated with you that you want to implement, and think about kind of how you are already applying these in your day-to-day, because there's a lot of valuable stuff here. Now, as we do wrap up, we are going to be around here, so come up to us. We're happy to help. We're happy to answer your questions. If anything comes up after the fact and we're already gone, feel free to come down to our Success Center to chat with our experts there. And thank you so much for joining us for our session. You all have a great day.